Well, hello, gentlemen. Mike Picetti, head football coach, Thomas Worthington High School. Topic we're going to look at today is the wing T and how we defend the wing T. Been lucky enough to play this offense a lot in my coaching career. I've had some pretty good success against it, and going to give a brief overview of what we like to do, as far as defending the wing T. So. A little bit of background on me, so you know who I am. I've been defense coordinator for the past 7 years. I was at Untitled High School in Hilliard Bradley. Out of the 7 years, 5 of those 7 years, we were in the OHSAA playoffs. 2 state Final Four appearances when I was at Untitled, 14-15. Had 4 10-win seasons in the past 7 years. And the overall record from the coordinating position of the schools that I've been at is 66-14. This past winter, I was hired as the head football coach at Thomas Worthington High School. So this will be my first year as the head coach there going forward. The years past, like I mentioned, I've been a coordinator and have seen the wing T quite a bit in my career. So we're just going to take a look at what I've been able to do to try to stop it here. One of the first things that you've got to look at when you're taking on a wing T team is where are the studs, and you have to understand that wing T coaches are very smart. They've seen just about any gimmick you can throw at them. So putting together a gimmick defense for that week is probably not a good idea. Stay with what you know, get good at what you know, and adapt it to what they do. You're not going to be able to stop everything. There's going to be plays that are going to give you headaches, but you got to find out what are their big ones and try to take those away. If they have a stud at fullback, if they have a stud at the wing, you got to make sure that you are really drilling those plays throughout the week, knowing what you want to shut down, knowing what you can do to make things easier for you. One of the things you got to understand too, you're going to struggle to stimulate the offense throughout the week. If you're not a wing T team, trying to defend a wing T team is difficult because it's hard to simulate it every day. You can get lucky if you have a decent kid with some speed, but the motion, the pulls, depending on scissors and everything else you get thrown at you, it can be a difficult offense to kind of show. And you have to be very smart about what you want to do to shut it down when you're going against it. So just make sure that you understand that going in. A gimmick defense is not something you want to throw at these guys. And you got to understand that you can't stop everything, but you have to be able to at least slow it down and give your kids a fighting chance. Spend time studying these guys. I mean, every team in the country has tendencies. Doesn't matter how good of a coach they are or who they are. You can find tendencies if you look hard enough. Are they flopping their line? What are they like on 3rd and 2 on the left hash? Things along those lines. So you have to be smart about how you attack it, but make sure you're putting in the time to watch film that week as well. Okay. You got to keep it simple for the kids. You can't throw a bunch of stuff at these guys that they haven't seen. Like I said, you can't come up with some gimmick defense. Hey, we're going to run a 6-2 this week. It's not going to work. Do what you do and be smart about it. But one of the things that I've found to be very successful against the wing T team is you got to be able to switch up the front against them. You can't sit in the same front the whole night or they will eat you alive. You have to be able to move. So what we typically do is we look to run 3 or 4 different fronts that we can throw at them throughout the night. All right. You don't want to blitz a lot. You start blitzing wing T teams, they're going to find a hole and they're going to exploit it. But if you do blitz, you have to make sure it's very simple stuff. Inside linebacker stuff, maybe a safety off the edge, things along those lines, but keep it simple. Don't get too crazy with it, okay? Have a method to your madness. Make sure what you're doing, you're blitzing for a particular reason, or you're doing it a certain way to set something up possibly, all right? Using your angles. Angle your front a lot against these guys. If you find a good tendency, they're 90% run to the wing side in this formation. You can angle your front if you know that. it can make it an automatic angle. Don't do it every time because they will catch on. Like I said, wing T coaches are smart, so you can't do it every single time. Don't be afraid of edge heat. We like to send our free safety sometimes, our strong safety other times, just off the edge to help slow down when we see, things that we know that we might be getting. So don't be afraid to send the edge heat. Stay in 2 to 3 coverages max. We typically will be in 2, maybe 3, depending on what we see on film. Typically, we're going to be in a lot of cover 3 against a wing T team. Some cover 2 stuff, and then we'll mix in some variations of those coverages just to give you something a little different to look at. Okay. So your game prep, extremely important against any team really, but against wing T, you have to be very good at what you do as far as understanding your game. What are they doing? What are their top plays down in distance? Who are their dudes? Find out where their studs are, find out who their dudes are, and be able to adjust to make sure you can shut that down. Do they flop their line? Again, a lot of these teams, depending on what level you're at, if you're at Division I level, Division II level, typically you're not going to see a whole lot of flopping, but in some cases you will. Find out if that's a big issue. If it is, find the tendency, set it up, understand it, make sure your kids know when they flop their line where more than likely the ball is going to be going. Call your game on Wednesdays. This is something that I started to do, I think, my second year as a coordinator. I put my game plan together on your Monday, your first day on Tuesday. You're running stuff that you think will be effective. By Wednesday, you should have an idea of your game plan, and you want to call your game on Wednesday. So set it up, be effective, see what your calls are doing against their best possible plays. Make sure you're doing it consistently. Don't come in on a Thursday and completely change everything. Your kids should know by Wednesday what the game plan looks like, what we're going to be doing in down and distance. And like I said, keep it simple, but play your game. Don't do anything stupid just because you're playing a team that's running a wing T that you don't see very often. But if you are consistent, you keep it simple for the kids, and you do what you do, you can have success against it. So one of the first things that we always do is we look at teams and we break their film down. And typically against the wing T team, I tend to do it in 4-yard increments. So I'll break down 1st and 10 left hash, middle, right, 1st and 5 to 9, 1st and 1 to 4, and so forth all the way down into the 3rd and down distance stuff. So once I break the data down, once I start looking at what we're getting at particular pieces and sections, I have a better idea of what we're going to be seeing. This is an actual sheet that I used against a wing T team from 2013 or 14, I believe. Again, it was against New Albany. And we broke down their tendencies, so we had an idea of what we were going to get, down and distance-wise, so we were able to prepare. And then what we do is we look at what our best defenses are against these particular calls. On Sundays when I'm at home, I draw up, if we're going to do a stunt, if we're going to do it, if we're angling or whatever we're doing, I draw it up against their top 3 runs, their top 3 passes. So on a Friday night, like I said, I've already called my game on Wednesday. On Friday night, I have my calls narrowed down to 3 or 4 calls against a down and distance that I'm going to see. So it makes my life a lot easier on a Friday night because I'm not looking at my sheet for 20 different calls and what I can do. I have it narrowed down to 3 or 4 that I think that are effective against what we've seen on film against these guys. And then if you change it on a Friday night, that's fine. If they're changing up what they're doing against you, because a lot of teams are going to switch it up. They're going to try to throw a curveball at you, something you haven't seen, and that's fine. But that's why you have coaches in the booth that have been tracking the games, and you ask them questions like, what have we seen in the last 3 third downs, 3rd and short? What have I got the last 3 plays? Boom, boom, boom. Gives you the feedback. You add it to the data that you already have, and you adjust your call. It's that simple. But again, break it down, find your tendencies, see what you're getting, set your defense up against what would be most effective against it, and that's how you build your game plan. From there, we use bands with our kids. And This is something I took out of the college when I was at Otterbein University. We're able to set our calls, and a lot of times we're going to have the same call on a band. And what we typically do is this whole row right here would be red, this row would be blue, this row would be green. So on a Friday night, I have me and one other guy on the sideline who has 3 cards. He's holding up the card, and I'm screaming the number. So it's green 11. Green 11, we're doing base, angle. We're going to angle that way. Red 4, base lion. Hatchet, hammer, some of our zone pressures that we have. We have Moses, which is a great stunt against wing T teams. I'm going to show you guys some clips here momentarily on those. Red dog's another good one to bring, and so is our excuse me, our angle will package, which we'll have here as well. But you know, a lot of teams start to go fast, and they'll break out of the huddle, they'll run to the line of scrimmage, and they'll try to get a play off. So by using the bands with our kids, we're able to get calls in quickly. Each kid has the call on their wrist, so there's no question on them not getting the call. We have our safeties make the coverage checks depending on what formations we get, and that's basically how we set our defense up as far as that goes. So our fronts, what are some different fronts we can run that are going to be effective? Like I said, we tend to use 3, maybe 4 tops fronts against the wing T team, just depending on what we get. We're a base 4-4 team, but we've switched over to more of a 3-4 look. So against our base front, it's going to be looking more like a 4-4 because we're going to walk that safety down almost like the 4th linebacker. So in our base look, we're going to be in our nickel front, or our nose is going to be in a R and L. End's going to be backside in a 5. We're going to have our 3 technique here. And then our card is going to be head up over top of tight end. Now, he's primarily a C-gap player, okay? He has to make sure he's controlling C, but he also needs to help with D just in case. So this guy's got to be your stud. He's your 2-gapper, but he's primarily a C-gap player, okay? We have help out here with our spur, and then our corners stacked over top the tight end, and this will be more of a cover 3 look against the base wing set that you're seeing right here. Okay. Another front that we like to use a lot is our so out of our base look, we'll just take a look at a couple clips here real quick. So out of base, this is a wing T team, Marysville, that we scrimmaged last year when I was at Hilliard Bradley. This is just a base look. We do a pretty good job. Our linebackers do a pretty good job of reading the keys. They were taught to really focus on guards this week. So when they see them, they do a decent job of coming across, getting over top, and obviously filling. Our safety walks down here to this side. You can see he walked down, so it looks more like a 4-4 look. And then he's just reacting to what the wing does. His key is the wing. So the wing blocks down, he steps up, boom, we wrong arm, force everything inside, and are effective as far as stopping that. Another look at it here, this is just base green. Again, we're in a cover 3 look, got a little late adjustment getting over here. On this point, we actually walked the will down on the edge. Must have got a look we saw. Again, we're doing a good job of reading our guards. We see the guard pull. Guard gets a pull call, fills in. Linebacker does a good job meeting him in the backfield, squeezing and making our play. Okay. Lastly, here's another view of green. This was against New Albany. I think it was 2014. Again, another wing set. We're in our green coverage. It's flat out in the flat. Again, nothing too major here. Just a look at how the corner adjusts, plants, and drives when he come back out into the flat. So our next front we take a look at is our under front. And what we're going to do now is we're going to throw 2 1s at you. So our 3 techniques shoots down to a 1. We're coming here. Our linebackers actually move out to 30 techniques. So we have 2 30s, 2 1s. So we're still gap sound. Again, the card's over top of here. He is primarily a C-gap player for us. He does help with D. but we have our spur out here to help with that. And we're more of a cover 3 look, boom, out here, here, and here. So flat player, and so forth. So the under front, it allows you to do a little bit of twisting inside with your 2 inside guys. You can move them around a little bit, cause a little havoc with that. Here's a look at the under stunt. And in this case, we're sending a will off the edge with a little bit of edge pressure. But you can see our 2-1 techniques are in the middle, to the wing side. Comes up. Does a decent job. Again, the linebacker does a decent job here of flowing over top. Both those kids are playing at Division I level, so they made me look really smart. But, a lot of it is just technique. Punch, squeeze, set your edge, flow over top with your backers, and making sure you're doing what you need to do. Don't get too crazy and adjust what you need to do. Over front. In this case, now we got 2 3s. We have our 2 10s. Linebackers are moving in tighter. Again, the cards head up, C gap. Again, a lot of cover 3 behind it. In some cases, we can switch up to a cover 2 look. And we also have a banjo adjustment out of this as well. So our banjo check, our corner would sit in the flat this time. The spur would take the deep third. So it's just they're switching off. So if we're getting a lot of stuff where the back is coming out here, we can have the corner come up and press and sit in the flats, and the safety could take that deep third. And it's just a quick adjustment. We call that banjo. So it's still cover 3, but it's just a switch up with our spur and our corner. Okay. This just gives you a different look to attack whatever you're getting, throughout the air. So in an overset, it allows you to twist your front a little bit. You can see our overlook here. So our 3 techniques, we're going to run what's called a pick-pack stunt. So we're going to have 2 twists on each side against it. Just causing a little havoc. He does get out of the box there on us. So we've got 2 3 techniques trying to hold the edge, but it gives us a little different look. To mix it up a little bit. We're still in cover 3 behind it, as far as what we got there. So we have another over stunt here. You can see we kind of shift to it a little bit late, but we're in over. Again, another pick-pack look out into the flat. And one thing we do really drill a lot, and you can see it on any of the film that I put up on my guys, is pursuit. We have a saying with the guys that I coach. If I don't have 8 guys in the clip at the end of the clip, that's a hit we have on Monday after practice. It's really important that we get as many hats as we can to the football fellows. You guys that do defense understand that. So simple stunts, different stunts that we were able to bring at it that makes life a little interesting for the wing T teams. Again, basically just angles. The whole idea is these guards want to get out. They want to cause havoc. And if we can get into the gaps that they're leaving, we can cause havoc in the backfield with it, okay? Your basic angle, your basic slant, okay, up front. So nothing too major, but you can just see our slanting and our angling up front here. Our guys are trying to get across the face to cause havoc. We got enough pressure there. We're able to get an interception. I think this is in the second or first quarter of this game. We had an automatic call that week. We knew that anytime the quarterback would roll out, we wanted to send pressure. So in some cases, we would send the outside backer, and then later in the game, we actually switched it up and sent the inside backer, because when he would come, they would start to kill us in the flat a little bit. So we actually adjusted it and started to send our middle backer, and we had a lot of success with that. So edge blitzes. This is some stuff that you can have a lot of fun with. We have what's called our shark and our smoke stuff that we like to send off the edge. We've had, again, a lot of success with this. We continue to make it simple, though. You don't need to be stunning every single time against these teams. Again, these coaches are smart. They know what they're doing. You don't want to get too stupid with them. Make sure you're under control. Make sure you're doing what you need to do. Some of our edge stuff that we like to do, our smoke, is he's coming off the edge. Now the corner understands that this is the open gap because we're sending our card inside. So the gap between the wing here, he knows he's responsible for that, but he's also responsible for the pass. So we're going to send our spur off the edge just to cause a little havoc. We also send our angle will. So our will coming off the edge, the end's coming inside. So we're just adding the outside pressures, basically, fellas, to our slant and our angle game inside. Okay. Here's a look at, this is actually a smoke stunt. Our corner's coming down, coming off the edge. And in this scrimmage, we were lucky enough to blow things dead early, so nobody was able to get hurt. But in this particular case, the guard was pulling out. He had two guys. He didn't really have a chance there. So another look at it here, slant shark, walking him down, coming off the edge, this side. Guys shooting across the bodies on the inside, able to take out the trap that came in and blew it up. Angle will, sending the backside linebacker off the edge. Everybody's slanting toward the strength. And again, I'd mentioned earlier that we had switched up what linebacker we were sending against the wing T stuff because we were getting killed in the flat. Typically, we would send this kid out. If the quarterback rolls, he was always taught to go. We actually switched it up and started sending the inside guy so he could still stay in the flat and help us out. And we had a lot of success with that. We were able to keep our flat, in check and still get heat backside on the rollout. So we started to send the middle instead. Angle will again. Everybody's going across the face. Will's coming off the edge. Blows it up, sends it back inside. Here comes the cavalry, boys. Again, simple, easy stunts, nothing major. Slants, angles, linebackers filling, fellas. Wing T is a very difficult offense to defend if they have the right guys in the right spots. You don't want to get too crazy with your blitzes. Keep them under control. Do the easy ones. Again, we have a little angle will shooting across the face here. This is against the shotgun look out of the wing T. No one even saw him. So, guard pressures. Another thing that we really focus on when we go against wing T teams is you got to put the guards under pressure. Because 99% of the time, these guys are pulling. They want to get outside. They want to be successful. So we have to be able to put pressure on the guards. And we do that in difficult ways, okay? We have what's called a red dog tom stunt. And we're going to send our 3 technique inside. The nose is coming here. We're going to send the mic in the B gap right off of this butt. Because what are you getting? You're getting guards pulling. If this guy's coming in and he's coming through, more than likely one of these 2 guys are going to get through. You can cause havoc in the backfield. If these guys start getting around the edge, they start causing problems, that's when wing T teams start to gash you. And you have to make sure you're putting some sort of pressure on these guys to get them out of their basic way that they're running their offense. You can't let them get comfortable. You can't let these guards do what they want to do. Put pressure on them to make them uncomfortable. One of the favorite ones we do is an angle Moses call. This is probably the most effective stunt that I have used against the wing T in the past 5 to 7 years. Basically your strong side linebacker is coming weak side A. And if he times it right, and I'm going to show you some clips where we use it, if he times it right, it's almost impossible to stop. Because if this guard's pulling, there's nobody there. Because the center is stepping this way typically to try to hook this guy. And if he's trying to fight across the face, he has to stop it. So now this is a free pass for your Mike linebacker coming across. Here's an example of Moses. Here he is right here, coming down, coming across the center's face. and the guard happens to be pulling on the snap of the ball, and we're right in the middle and have our sack. Okay. Again, we're getting a 3-by-1 look out here. We're going to be probably some sort of form of cover 3 to that to compensate. It just depends on what we call out of it. We have a couple different looks out of cover 3 we can run. Comes in, goes backside A, and has success. Here's another look at Moses. We ran it later in the game. Comes down, backside A. Poor guard didn't really have a chance. Goes the pass set. He steps down to fill the gap and is just unable to do so. Okay. Here's a look at Tom. So in this case, our Tom stunt, he's now going to be going B gap. The tackle's going down in the A. He's coming off in the B against the wing T. Does a nice job of slowing the initial burst. The quarterback here wants to roll out, but the guard can't get around. He has no way to set his feet, and good guys get the victory there. So another good look at it here. Here's base Moses. This one was timed absolutely perfect. Again, this was against the wing T team against New Albany. Times it just right. Comes off the edge, meets him in the backfield. Guy's not having a good day. So different ways to attack this particular offense. Again, slanting and angling up front is big. You have to have some different fronts to throw at them. Can't sit in the same thing. You have to be able to do some edge pressures. Make sure you're bringing heat off the edge. Make sure that you are doing a great job with pressuring the guards. Don't let them get comfortable. One of the things we started to do was we would shift our front. If we knew that wing T teams, they knew where their target was as far as blocking goes, we would move our front at the last second to confuse them to help with that as well. So it was another effective thing that we've done. Again, the coaches are smart of these programs. They know what they're doing. Don't get too crazy in what you're doing. Stay true to yourself. Build your game plan. Keep it simple for your kids because it's going to be hard to replicate them in practice. Make sure you really watch film on them, and you should be very successful against them. Guys, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to spend with me. If you have any questions, by all means, feel free to reach out. Again, I'm Mike Picetti, head coach Thomas Worthington. You can find me online, emails online. Feel free to reach out, and I'll be happy to talk football with anybody. Thanks again, and have a good night.